I mean, I will tell you, I agree with you, Brian. And I would, one of the things I always tell clients is, that's one of the first questions I think a good attorney should ask any client when they're coming in through that process is, tell me about, one, why we're here, what's your motivation, but two, like, what are the vices that I'm going to hear about? Tell me about the skeletons in the closet, right? Is it that, the new boyfriend or girlfriends who you met at the gym? Or is it that, she hates the porn addiction and every time, she turns on the computer, one of the kids came in and saw your iPad and you're flipping through freaking porn? Or is it that, it's prescription medication? It came off of an injury or, a car wreck or something that you just can't seem to kick it. And now you're, immersed in that world. Or, is it as simple as, I'll give you a new one that I've heard is obviously podcasts. We're doing a podcast. It's obviously something that's really taken over society, worldwide. And it gives people an avenue to be able to just kind of like what I think used to be reading. I had a case one time where a client came in and he said, man, my wife's always walking around with a book or a magazine. Like I can't get her attention. Like she's always rather be in this imaginary world in her mind than interacting in the physical world with us and our children. And I think that's really an effect of the digital age is it's so easily available to us to get into this kind of virtual space. And podcasts are one of them, right? True crime. I don't know about your wife, but my wife is all about true crime.
Oh boy, if I could only tell you the stories I've heard.
Or entertainment, right? We're always talking about, celebrity divorces. People get all kinds about The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
My neighbor left town for a week, but did he leave town or was he hiding a body or was it something more sinister? Yeah, you start to get in that mindset. You hear too many podcasts, you get in that mindset, and then you start to think that there's something sinister going on everywhere, right?
Well, when you think about it, anything that, like you said, it takes your attention, right? So if all of a sudden you're like, hey, the kids need to be fed, and you're like, well, I got to finish my podcast, so give me another 20 minutes.
On this one.
Right, another 15 minutes, and you're like, hey, well, we got to go do stuff after this. So these are things that can be huge sources of frustration, and it's something you should be cognizant of, whether it's a positive for you, like working out at the gym all the time, or it's a negative. It's an opioid addiction, or it's a porn addiction, or anything,
or a fantasy football addiction. I've had one of those before. I had somebody that was in. It was also gambling and fantasy football. So you're talking about just a massive amount of money, losing money with the bookies every weekend. But then it was also, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, getting ready for fantasy football and then picking lineups and whatever else he was doing every week. And now, a lot of fantasy footballs combined with gambling. So you've got, DraftKings leagues and stuff where you're putting your money on the line and trying to win. And, that takes a toll. It takes a toll.
And, it's, what I try to tell clients is, they come in and they want to talk about like, hey, I'm not there, but I feel like I need to kind of prepare myself for the event that it could come. We're having issues, we're fighting, we're not agreeing about money, whatever it is. And I always tell them, the reason that we're having this vice conversation at the onset of our consultation is because these are the things I want you to be introspective about, because they will come back to haunt you as you go forward. What do I mean by that? Well, your vice is the gym. Okay. And so you're like, well, I'm super fit. I'm super healthy. I'm just trying to have like a healthy lifestyle so I can be around and provide for my family for years to come. And the other person in the relationship says, yeah, but you're never there with the kids ever. I'm doing everything 100% of the stuff.
But technically you're not providing now, right?
Right. And so instantly they're like, how can that be used against me? And I'm like, because that time that you've invested, you're making a decision, right? You're setting the course of a river that's flowing in your life that can be used against you by a court, by the other side, to say you made these decisions. You consciously decided to invest money, capital, energy in these things that weren't a part of your family. And because of that, I'm going to let you do that. But the time that you were, spending over there, you're not going to get it back in the situation potentially, especially if it's a harmful vice. So you really need to kind of like look around as you're considering and contemplating what's around you in life and know how it potentially can affect you negatively.
Yeah, I had a client one time that was an his wife was an ultra marathoner. I mean, what an ultra marathoner is, they do these 100-mile runs and things like that. Yeah. People that are addicted to punishment. I know, I'm just kidding. But seriously, this ultra marathoning thing, she was taking trips, across the country, to San Diego or different places to do these ultra marathons. and she's gone for days at a time, not to mention the amount of time it takes to train for one of these things. I mean, you're talking about on a Saturday, she's gone 7-8 hours training every Saturday. And he's stuck with the kids, and he comes into my office and wants to know if he can get custody. And yeah, I think you can get custody in a situation like that. I mean, I think it's, you look at, like you said, you look at the time each parent is spending with the kids, what they're devoting to the kids, and who takes care of those kids' needs. Dad was taking the kids to all the medical appointments, taking and picking up kids from school, doing all the homework, doing all the activities on Saturdays and Sundays, because mom was out training for ultra marathons, which is great because she's super healthy and all that. But, at the end of the day, who's the primary parent? Well, dad is.
Right.
Dad's the primary parent in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a similar example, and I give it to you. This is, because people always want to say, well, the only thing I really spend time on is my family. But your family can be a vice just the same way. I'll give you an example. I had a client who I was representing, female, wife, mom. Her daughter was big time, wanted to go to the equestrian Olympic trials. Okay. So one, extremely expensive sport. Okay. Extremely expensive. And two, is not like it's at every park, right? It's not like you go, oh, I'm going to go to the equestrian event like a soccer field around the block. No, these are events that happen all across the country, if not all around North America. So she was going with 15-year-old child to all these different events, trying to get them qualified for the Olympic trials. The entire time, who's left at home with the other children? Dad. And so it became this huge divisive issue, one about money, because it became pretty apparent that as talented as this girl was, she wasn't going to make the Olympic trial team. And so that became a huge source, because mom was like, well, as long as she wants to do it, I want to do it, because they both loved it. Well, they both loved it. Daughter, because she was in this great competition and got to be homeschooled and do things that the other kids didn't get to do. A fantastic experience. What a, freaking great life. Mom loved it because there just happened to be a couple of horse trainers that just gave her a whole lot of attention. Do you know what I'm saying? Sure. And so all of a sudden, what had been something that was really positive, the family was 100% behind, became the source of really the central point of this divorce. Do we continue to spend that money because it was substantial? And all the activities that went along with that, were they really conducive to, this 15-year-old's development? Was it conducive? Obviously not to the marital relationship. And the estate and who was going to pay for that. And, this really became a pretty complicated issue all off of that. And mom even said on the stand, I'll never forget it. She was like, look, the only addiction or vice that I have is loving my daughter and wanting to provide this for her.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? And so in that, the court was like, that's fine. That's fine that you want to do that and that you love it. I'm going to let you do that. But as far as you saying, I'm going to get all the other kids and I'm going to leave them with a nanny, and dad's not going to get them, that's just not going to happen. You put this stuff in place. And so, that's a really tough example of something, obviously, that's, super expensive, but you can take that down to like soccer, baseball, basketball, select teams, every parent wants their kid to be phenomenal and enrolls them in this stuff, gymnastics, but they all take time. And they all take an investment.
I feel like anything with horses, though, automatically comes with how the restaurants have the $3 signs or $4 signs. I feel like anything with horses has like $4 signs. It's just automatically $4 signs.
Yeah, it's the Yelp expensive for sure. It's the Yelp expensive for sure. But I felt I could see that, obviously both parents love their kids and they didn't want this to become an issue, but it had.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the Top Texas Lawyers podcast. If you would like a consultation with either Bryan or Sam, please call 1-888-981-7509 or visit us on the web at astxlegal.com. Once again, that's astxlegal.com. Thank you very much.